Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, March 14th, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES with pre-market data coming out here a bit ago. We had core PPI and PPI data, initial jobless claims, retail sales all coming in, and an initial move in the market that was mostly down from the initial spike highs. Mostly down from the initial spike highs. PPI coming in at 0.6% versus a 0.3% estimate. Initial jobless claims at 209K versus 218K estimate. And core retail sales 0.3% versus 0.5% estimate. And you saw this thing spike a little bit and now coming down off of those highs. One thing we saw yesterday was mostly digestive day, mostly sideways price action for the ES. This thing is trading at cycle highs for the most part. Right here you can see kind of cycle highs of the uptrending channel, and it could be due for a bit of a pullback here, even if it's a one-day pullback. One thing we mentioned here in the afternoon session yesterday was how this price action right here is very similar to something we've seen here before, where price has gone to the upside, and then, or rather to the upside just before we've pulled back a bit here. And right now, a little to the upside, a little digestive day, and starting right now with a bit of a failed new high. Right above the previous session's highs, we also have a bit of a box that has developed and a box reversal now underway, and that could lead to a push to the other extreme of the previous session's range. So we could be looking at a bearish outside day down in the most bearish scenario, and perhaps even a bit more selling pressure into the 8-period average. 51.85 would be that test right there. This market hasn't been too far away from the 8-period average during this up move. It gets here and it pulls back to it, bounces, gets here, pulls back to it, bounces, gets here, pulls back, bounces. So we could be looking at a little bit of a pullback here, especially if price continues to hold below the previous session's high. So watching the previous session's high right now, seeing initial reaction, initial rejection, failed new high, that could lead to a return back to the previous session's low, and perhaps a bit lower here today. Still an uptrending market, so even if we do pull back, it's considered a one-day pullback before this thing screams back for another bounce higher. This market continues to remain quite bullish. If we take a look here at the NQ, similar price action here for the NQ, but instead of kind of a doji-like day yesterday, this thing did pull back a bit more. It had a bit more weakness, especially in some of big tech. You see right here a bit of a push higher, a close on new highs, and then a strong pullback the following day. Very similar to this here, very similar to this here, very similar to that there. And the next day that followed was mostly a down day. Now again, that's a one-day scenario because this market remains quite bullish. So if we do pull back here, and right now we're looking at weakness coming into play between the 18.4 and 18.430 zone. That lower high could lead to a bit more downside here, and if we get an average day's range, it'll be about 300 points. Right now this market is averaging 300 points on the dot on a 10-day basis, 316 on a 5. So if we take today's high here, today's high being 428, subtract 300, and you're looking down about 128 as the downside target. So that could be about where we head on a one-day basis. If we do finish out a move like that for the day, we would be expecting this thing to bounce right back the following session. So again, it's a one-day pullback, if at all. That would be the case. So continue to watch the 18.4 level. If price cannot get through 18.4, we're looking at a downside push on a very short-term basis. Now taking a look here at crude oil, this one had quite a day to the upside in the previous session and is seeing further strength here so far this morning. Now once this thing has crossed 80, it has now formed a bit of a box at these highs, and keeping an eye on 80.20. 80.20. If this thing starts to fall back below 80.20, we could be due for a box reversal type of play. Now again, this market hasn't really been able to find acceptance above 80 bucks. It really hasn't. It's gotten pretty high through 80. This day back here, it got into the 80-85s. This day right here, 80-67. And right now, currently, we've gotten to a high of 80-64 here today, just now, and holding. So again, there has been an ability to get through 80, but by the end of the day, we've seen this thing flush right back down. Are we going to see the same here today? Or is this finally the time that we see expansion? Remember what I've mentioned about expansion before is eventually we're going to see a big upside breakout and run. But on the expansion day, on the transition day, it needs to be a heavy day where it takes you well higher. It closes through 81.5, through 82s. It can't just kind of poke its head here above 80 because it's going to get smacked right down. A ton of resistance here is still in play for crude oil. Right now it's kind of poking its head and it's building a bit of a box. So again, there is the potential for failure here. Below 80.25, 80.20 could open up a failed new high, and we could be looking at a reversal back toward the previous session's midpoint of 78.74. So keep an eye on 80.20 here early in the day. Now gold futures here down a bit. This market right now may have found itself a bit of a range. We've seen tremendous strength, but since then a strong high at the 2200 level. Monday, bit of a digestive day. Tuesday here with a price discovery phase down, a little bit of a fade after trend day on Wednesday, and today inside day currently for Thursday's trading. Now this is trading between the 2150 and 2200 level. That's a 50-point range. And then you have another 50-point range from 2150 down to 2100. Those two could become near-term ranges for this market. We've mentioned 2150 all along as a level that the bulls want to keep bid. If the bulls can keep this area bid, there could be more upside ahead. A failure at 2150 and you're rotating back into the thin portion of the profile here into 2100. Maybe as deep as 2080 in kind of the worst case scenario. So continuing to watch this range as it develops. Right now inside day, a couple of sell signals here developing off the PivotBoss band's R3 band, which is a third standard deviation above VWAP. Year to date VWAP is down here. We're 3 standard deviations above. That would be overvalued right now, and the indication would be a failure to hold above that band may lead you back toward VWAP down below. Alright, last one here is the YM. The YM here showed a bit more strength against the broader market yesterday, a bit more strength against the ES, a bit more strength especially against the NQ. Closed higher, right now seeing a little bit of a failed new high, higher high failure in the intraday chart, and that again could lead to perhaps a test at the other end of the day's range from yesterday's trading, 39,400. Still an upward trend, but we may be at a cycle high as well for this market, a cycle high in the very near term, so which that means that we could be looking at a short-term pullback within the range. But even if we did pull back, again, this market remains quite bullish until proven otherwise. So still quite strong. And if this market is going to pull back, perhaps the NQ may be the market that pulls back the most, especially given yesterday's trading. This one having a tendency to hold at these highs at the moment. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.